Neither will I. This is my power. My responsibility.
All Spider-Man games ever, 1982 to 2023, explained with reviews. Hey there, fellow gamers. Today, we're embarking on an epic journey, one that's been 42 years in the making. That's right, we're talking about every web-slinging, wall-crawling Spider-Man video game that's ever hit the shelves, from 1981 all the way to 2023. From the pixelated streets of the 80s, to the ultra-realistic New York Cityscape of the PlayStation 5, we've seen our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in every imaginable scenario. He's teamed up with icons, battled timeless villains, and saved the city more times than we can count. And let's not forget the leaps and bounds in gameplay, storytelling, and graphics. Oh man, the graphics. So, whether you're old school at heart or living for the latest tech, this retrospective is for you. We're unraveling the legacy, the evolution, and the revolutionary moments of the Spider-Man gaming franchise. Ready to swing through history with me? Let's get this nostalgia trip started. Spider-Man 1982. Picture this. 1982. Spider-Man hits the screens. Not in cinematic widescreen, but in pixelated 2D glory. The story? Classic hero stuff. Spidey versus the Green Goblin. Scaling buildings, defusing bombs, no frills. The gameplay was as basic as it gets, moving up, down, and sideways. But hey, it was the 80s. Now, if we swing by the reviews, they'll tell you it was groundbreaking for its time, the first of its kind. But let's be real, nostalgia aside, it was more a tech demo than a full-fledged game. Revolutionary? Yes. Repetitive? Absolutely. But it laid the foundation, where we're going. We needed this start. The Amazing Spider-Man, 1990. Flash forward to 1990. Spidey's back, but this time on the Game Boy, in The Amazing Spider-Man. The plot? Oh, it's a rescue mission with our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man swinging out to save his main squeeze MJ from the clutches of the sinister Mysterio. The gameplay feels like a Maze Runner meets beat 'em up, minus the high-flying acrobatics we crave from our webhead. Critics and fans echoed the same sentiment. Ambitious for a handheld, but man, did it feel boxed in. It had the makings of something greater, but like a web line in the wind, it didn't quite reach the heights it aimed for. Spider-Man the video game. So, 1991 rolls around, and arcade cabinets are all the rage. Enter Spider-Man the video game, a beat-em-up extravaganza where you're not just Spidey, you've got a whole Marvel squad with Black Cat, Hawkeye, and Submariner. The story throws you against a legion of villains, culminating in a showdown with Dr. Doom. Now, the gameplay. Pure arcade bliss with co-op action, diverse character moves, and yes, the occasional platforming hiccup. But what's the word on the street? Well, reviews highlight its status as a 90s relic, a testament to Sega's arcade prowess. A nostalgic gem, rough around the edges, but shining in its engaging gameplay and co-op fun. It's not just a game, it's a time capsule from an era of quarters and joysticks.
Boy, what an ugly bunch. The nastiest batch of criminals in the world, and New York's got them. Lucky thing, they've also got Spider-Man.
The Amazing Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin, 1991. Next up, we're in the 90s, and The Amazing Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin swings into action. Picture this, Spider-Man in a race against time, duking it out with New York's nastiest to stop a nuclear bomb. The gameplay? Classic platforming with a punch, literally. Spidey's got to fight his way through, with everything from his fists to his webs, across a city teeming with both low-level thugs and iconic baddies. But here's the kicker. Reviews say it's a gem, a true-to-form Spider-Man experience, a heart-pounding, web-slinging adventure capturing the essence of Spider-Man with every leap and swing. Though it's got its quirks, it stands as a testament to what superhero games could be and what they've become. Spider-Man. Return of the Sinister Six, 1992. Dive into the early 90s, and Spidey's up against not one, but two, but six of his most formidable foes in Spider-Man Return of the Sinister Six. The narrative. Classic comic book material. The Sinister Six are on a rampage, and it's up to Spider-Man to stop their citywide chaos. Gameplay-wise, it's a side-scrolling action-adventure filled with platforming challenges and face-offs against iconic villains. But what's the buzz from the gaming community? Reviews are a mixed bag. While some appreciated the attempt to bring the Sinister Six storyline to life, others felt the graphics and gameplay mechanics left much to be desired. One critic noted, "Suffers from graphics that are slightly above average. Spider-Man spends most of his time trying to avoid fighting. So, it's a trip down memory lane, but maybe not the smoothest swing through New York." Spider-Man and the X-Men, Arcade's Revenge. 1992 swings in with Spider-Man and the X-Men, Arcade's Revenge, where Spidey teams up with mutant pals in a bizarre game concocted by the villain Arcade. You're hopping between characters, not just Spider-Man, each with unique levels that test your reflexes and patience. Now the gameplay? Critics say it's a mixed bag of nuts. Some levels feel like a dream, others a nightmare of game design. And the consensus, a roller coaster of quality. For every moment of super heroic thrill, there's an instant of super frustration. It's a game that dared to juggle more balls than it could handle, leaving players both enamored and exasperated. A wild ride? Yes. Consistent? Well, that's another story. The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Here's the scene. 1992. And The Amazing Spider-Man 2 swings onto the Game Boy, bringing more handheld Spidey action to the fans. This time, it's not just about brawling with baddies. Spidey's got to sleuth around, hunting for items across different levels. Sounds cool, right? But here's the deal. While the idea of mixing up gameplay with some detective work sounds fresh, the execution was kind of a swing and a miss. Reviews back this up, pointing out that what could have been a thrilling web-slinging adventure got tangled in its own ambition. It tried to spin a more complex web with item hunts and varied gameplay, but ended up tripping on its own mechanics. A for effort, but C for execution. The Amazing Spider-Man 3, Invasion of the Spider Slayers. Fast forward to 1993. The Amazing Spider-Man 3, Invasion of the Spider Slayers, bursts onto the Game Boy scene. The story: a robotic nightmare as Spidey faces a tech-infused threat, with the Spider Slayers wreaking havoc. Now, the gameplay tries to keep things fresh, throwing in new villains and challenges, but here's the twist. It's more of the same side-scrolling action, with a few new bells and whistles. So what's the word on the street? The consensus seems to be, had the potential, made the same mistakes. Die-hard fans might cling to it, but most gamers found themselves wishing for more than what felt like a rehash of previous outings. It's like going to a sequel and realizing you might just be watching a rerun. Spider-Man and Venom, Maximum Carnage. 1994 brought us Spider-Man and Venom, Maximum Carnage, a red cartridge spectacle that had comic book fans hyped. The story was ripped straight from the pages, with Carnage breaking free and forming a villainous posse, prompting Spidey and Venom to team up. The gameplay? Classic beat-em-up action, dishing out justice with fists, feet, and webs across New York. But here's the scoop. Reviews were kind of a mixed bag. While some praised it as a superb game that outshone others in the genre, citing it as the perfect expression of Spider-Man, others felt it tried to juggle too much. A visually striking game that delivers comic book thrills, but sometimes stumbles over its own ambitious narrative and gameplay mechanics. It's a love letter to fans, but maybe it penned too many pages. Spider-Man the Animated Series. Picture this, 1994, and Spider-Man the Animated Series game hits the shelves, promising all the animated action in a cartridge. You've got Spidey taking on his rogues gallery in a series of levels that feel like they're straight out of Saturday morning cartoons. But here's the catch. While the game boasted solid graphics and sound, the gameplay didn't exactly stick the landing. Reviews point out that despite featuring a stellar lineup of villains, the game itself wasn't the web-slinging adventure it could have been. Decent visuals and faithful adaptation elements. But there are better Spider-Man experiences out there. It's like getting a beautifully wrapped present, but the gift inside? Well, it sucks. Spider-Man and Venom. Separation Anxiety. 1995. Next up. Spider-Man and Venom. Separation Anxiety. A sequel that brought the unlikely duo back together to tackle a symbiote invasion. The game introduced co-op, meaning you could team up with a buddy to take on the symbiote horde. But did it live up to the hype? Well, reviews suggest it was a bit of a mixed bag. Not a terrible game, with the co-op being a great addition, but it didn't quite swing to the heights of its predecessor. It's like going back to your favorite roller coaster, only to find they haven't fixed that janky last turn. SpiderMan Web of Fire, 1996, Sega 32X. And then there was SpiderMan Web of Fire, the swan song of the Sega 32X. This one had Spidey teaming up with the likes of Daredevil to save New York from an energy crisis. Now, while the game is a collector's item due to its rarity, the gameplay didn't exactly set the world on fire. Reviews were pretty harsh, calling it a decent game, but not the grand finale 32X owners were hoping for. A classic case of too little too late, with more fizzle than sizzled. It's like watching your favorite band's farewell tour, but they're just going through the motions. Spider-Man. The year 2000 brought a game changer with Spider-Man, a title that let players truly feel like they were the web slinger himself. The game was a hit, with reviews praising its immersive mechanics, gripping storyline, and rich comic book references. Critics called it a remarkable game that captivated players, marking a significant point in superhero gaming. A superb game that outshone others in the genre. Truly the first real 3D realization of your favorite wall crawler. Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro, 2001, made its mark as an overlooked sequel. While it introduced new elements like mid-air web balls, reviews were mixed. Critics appreciated its Marvel Comics-driven action, but noted imperfections in the game engine and unforgiving bosses. A solid game that provides a few hours of action, though it's not the better sequel to its predecessors. Then came Spider-Man's Mysterio's Menace, a title that stood out on the GBA. Reviews highlighted it as one of the better handheld Spider-Man games, with a steep learning curve but solid platforming. Critics described it as a superhero game that feels right, offering one of the best Game Boy Advance and Spider-Man experiences, with great story, visuals, and sound. Spider-Man 2002, the cinematic thrill of Spider-Man, wasn't just on the big screen. It swung into gaming with style. The game mirrored the movie's plot, giving fans a chance to live Spidey's high-flying antics. Reviews lauded it for capturing the film's essence, though some criticized the camera angles. A cinematic gem adapted into a gaming adventure, though not without its technical hiccups. Spider-Man 2, 2004, upped the ante with free swinging mechanics that had fans feeling the rush of soaring through NYC's skyline. Critics adored the open-world design, a revolutionary step for superhero games. A landmark title that defined Spider-Man in video games, setting a standard for open-world superhero adventures. Ultimate Spider-Man, 2005, broke the mold in 2005, offering an experience ripped from comic book pages. Players swung into a storyline that balanced classic Spidey heroics with the tragic narrative of Venom. The game's cel-shaded graphics were a visual treat, mirroring the comic style. However, reviews were quick to point out the repetitive missions, despite the thrill of playing as both Spider-Man and Venom. Critics called it a visual masterpiece with engaging storytelling, though marred by some gameplay monotony. It's like diving into a comic book that sometimes sticks the same old plot twist. Spider-Man Battle for New York, 2006, allowed players to live the rivalry between Spider-Man and the Green Goblin. The game's story, inspired by the Ultimate Spider-Man comics, offered a fresh take on the iconic feud. Reviews acknowledged the game's attempt at bringing a rich narrative experience with the unique twist of playing as the villain, but noted the gameplay often felt too familiar and unchallenging. A narrative-rich experience that captures the essence of the comics, though it plays it safe with gameplay.
Is to never stop being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 3, 2007. Tying in with the movie, Spider-Man 3 plunged players into a darker narrative, facing foes from the film and fresh challenges. The game expanded the open-world experience, but critics were divided, citing subpar graphics and lackluster missions, overshadowing the narrative's depth and the thrill of new abilities like the Black Suit, an ambitious attempt that captures the movie's complex narrative, offering an authentic Spider-Man experience, though tripped up by its technical shortcomings.
Gross.
Spider-Man, Friend or Foe, 2007, took a detour from the usual Spider-Man narrative, introducing a storyline where Spider-Man teams up with his enemies to tackle a greater evil. This unexpected alliance forms the crux of the game, offering a unique perspective on the relationships between iconic characters. The gameplay is designed for a younger audience, with straightforward combat and puzzles. However, reviews suggest the game didn't fully reach its potential. Critics felt it was a simplified experience, perhaps too much so, lacking the depth found in other Spider-Man titles. A light-hearted take on the Spider-Man franchise, offering fun team-ups, but missing the mark on delivering a captivating gameplay experience for seasoned gamers. SpiderMan Web of Shadows, 2008, presents a darker, grittier New York under siege by symbiotes. With Spider-Man's moral compass being a central theme, players face a city in chaos, making choices that affect the outcome of the story. The game introduces innovative combat mechanics, allowing seamless switching between the traditional red and blue suit and the aggressive black suit. Reviews were generally positive, with players enjoying the freedom of choice in the narrative and the fluidity of combat. However, some critics pointed out repetitive missions and underdeveloped story aspects. A bold, darker storyline complemented by dynamic combat mechanics, though occasionally hindered by repetitive tasks. Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, 2010. Multiple platforms is not your typical Spider-Man video game. It's a dimension-hopping adventure that brings together 4 different versions of Spider-Man from various universes. Each Spider-Man has unique gameplay, with levels designed around their specific abilities, creating diverse gameplay experiences. The story revolves around restoring the Tablet of Order and Chaos, with each Spider-Man tackling challenges in their dimension. Critics praised the game for its innovative concept, engaging gameplay, and faithful comic book art style. However, they noted that not all dimensions were equally enjoyable, with some offering more exciting gameplay than others. A refreshing take on the Spider-Man lore with a unique multi-universe angle, though some dimensions shine brighter than others. Spider-Man Edge of Time 2011 focuses on a narrative where actions in one timeline affect the other, featuring the Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099. The story, centered around preventing a catastrophic future, is its strongest point, praised for its depth and the interesting dynamic between the two Spider-Men. However, the game received mixed reviews, with critics pointing out the confined level design and lack of open-world exploration, which were considered drawbacks compared to previous titles. The combat system was seen as robust, but not without its redundancies, a narrative-driven experience that excels in storytelling while faltering in gameplay expansiveness and variety. The Amazing Spider-Man 2012 swings back to the roots of our friendly neighborhood hero in a game that extends the story beyond the 2012 movie. Players experience what it's like to be Spider-Man, thwarting crime in a free-roaming Manhattan, engaging with side missions, and facing off against classic villains. While the game captures the thrill of web-slinging and offers a well-written storyline, reviews indicate a lack of challenge and repetitive side tasks. Critics appreciated the fun factor, but desired more depth and challenge. A swing through Spider-Man's world that's enjoyable, but lacks the punch to make it memorable. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 2014, the sequel, tries to up the ante with a storyline that intertwines with the movie's plot, exploring Spider-Man's hunt for Uncle Ben's killer. The game introduces the hero or menace system, encouraging players to stop crimes while navigating the story. However, reviews suggest the game missed its mark, with criticisms pointing to clunky controls, uninspired combat, and a world that feels underdeveloped. The web-slinging thrill is there, but it gets lost amidst the game's shortcomings. An adventure that captures Spider-Man's essence, but gets tangled in its own web of execution flaws. SpiderMan Unlimited 2013 wasn't just a game, it was a homage to the Spider-Verse. This endless runner brought together Spider-Men from across dimensions, each with unique abilities, against the Sinister Six in a race through a comic book-styled New York. The gameplay was praised for its variety and faithful comic aesthetic, though the excitement was somewhat dampened by the typical free-to-play trapping. Critics found it a treat for fans, offering a vast, ever-expanding roster of Spider-People, a celebration of Spider-Man's history, wrapped in an addictive runner that occasionally feels hindered by its monetization. Spider-Man 2018, Insomniac's Spider-Man is a love letter to fans, weaving a unique tale that respects its source material while spinning its own narrative threads. Players explore a beautifully realized open-world New York, juggling Peter Parker's personal struggles with high-stakes superhero showdowns. The game mechanics, especially web-swinging, are fluid and satisfying, making city traversal a joy. Critics hailed it as one of the best superhero games, praising its emotionally resonant story, dynamic combat, and stunning world. However, some found fault with pacing in certain gameplay segments. A triumphant recreation of Spider-Man's world, delivering an unparalleled superhero experience. The best Spider-Man game of all time. Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales 2020 is a radiant continuation of the Spider-Man legacy, shining the spotlight on the charismatic Miles. The game is a heartwarming, action-packed adventure set in a snowy Harlem, with Miles forging his path as a hero. Praised for its stunning visuals, fluid combat, and emotionally charged story, it's a shorter but denser experience compared to its predecessor. The game captures the essence of Miles' character, making his journey feel personal and authentic. Critics describe it as a spectacular follow-up, showing Miles' compelling growth into his role, making a mark in the Spider-Man universe. SpiderMan Homecoming VR 2017, offers fans a tantalizing taste of life as Spider-Man, providing a first-person experience that, while short, is filled with classic Spidey elements. Players get to don the suit, shoot webs, and face off against the Vulture. While the experience received mixed reviews, with some users finding it underwhelming and short, it was also acknowledged for its immersive qualities and the thrill of seeing the world through Spider-Man's eyes. A brief yet immersive experience that, despite its limitations, captures the excitement of being Spider-Man. SpiderMan Far From Home VR, 2019, various VR platforms. The VR experience for Spider-Man Far From Home takes virtual reality to new heights, literally. Players swing through virtual New York City, following the narrative of the movie. While reviews pointed out its simplicity and technical issues, the game was praised for the exhilarating sensation of swinging through the city's skyscrapers. It was considered a fun, albeit brief, adventure that made players feel like Spider-Man, overlooking its technical imperfections for the sheer joy of the experience. A liberating dive into Spider-Man's world, offering a glimpse of his high-flying antics, despite some rough edges. Spider-Man 2, PS5, 2023. Alright folks, time for the big ticket item. We're diving into the heart of New York with Marvel's Spider-Man 2, 2023. And oh boy, Insomniac Games is not pulling any punches. This game, it's a roller coaster, weaving a story so thick with emotion, you'll feel like you've been slung through the streets of Manhattan. We're talking tragedy, friendship, the whole shebang. And the gameplay, chef's kiss. Swinging through NYC is smoother, more thrilling, and more Spider-Man-y than ever. But hey, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Some parts feel like deja vu. Side missions that have you saying, didn't I just do this? And the villains, come on, we wanted more juice, more backstory. Oh, and while we're all here for a good emotional gut punch, there were a couple of moments where the story kind of dragged, like get on with it, right? Combat-wise, it's slick, sure, but after a while, you see the Matrix, you know what's coming. And visually, it's like a pizza with all the toppings, except when you hit those outer boroughs and it's suddenly just cheese. But let's reel it back. Is this game worth your time? Heck yes. Insomniac has crafted a world that's not just a playground, but a stage for a superhero journey that hits you right in the feels. It's not without its hiccups, but Marvel's Spider-Man 2, it's a ride you don't want to miss. And at the end of the day, isn't that what gaming's all about? And there you have it, folks. A whirlwind swing through the rich tapestry of Spider-Man's video game legacy, from the humble 8-bit beginnings to the jaw-dropping spectacles of the modern era. As we zip up this nostalgia-packed journey, don't forget to hit like, smash subscribe, and ring that bell for the Gaming Diehards channel, where the adventure never ends. Until next time, keep those controllers charged, stay awesome, and we'll catch you on the flip side with more gaming epics. Web out.
We good? We're good!